Hello, heretics and heathens. This is Lilith. I'm here with Renee. And happy Atheist Day. At least we are recording this on Atheist Day. It'll obviously come out a little later, but happy Atheist Day to one and all. Here's to being rational in a world of not so much rationality. As we're going to explore today in another episode of Headlines from Hell. I can't even, Renee, why? Why?
Yeah, I have no idea why. To be honest, we already know after all what we are discussing and what we will feature on today's episode, and the articles we're about to feature and about to talk about. They're gonna be frustrating. They're gonna be sad. They're gonna make us and our viewers angry a little bit, but yeah,
a lot. And I gotta say, I'm just like, why is it the holiest who appear to be determined to create hell on earth and promise us an even worse afterlife and call it heaven? I don't know what to do with that. But in any event, our first article is from the Dead State. However, this is something that we have confirmed and several people have talked about with regard to the coronavirus and the responses of certain individuals.
Yeah.
More specifically, Lori, the so-called transformed wife, who is a paragon of Christian Stockholm syndrome. She's hardcore Christian conservative Stockholm syndrome. That's just what she is. She tends to. Sorry, go ahead.
She's also a rape apologist, and she regularly tells women and people in general, especially in her role as a wife, that they should submit to their husband and put their husband first,
and not in that like slightly apologetic, oh, we both submit to each other because marriage is a partnership and you want to put the other person first because blah blah blah. No, this is full on, you don't belong to yourself, your body doesn't belong to you,
you're there to satisfy him, he's the leader of the household, you shut up and you give him sex.
Yeah. I don't even want to think about what her sex life would be like. I mean, not that I want to think of her, just like it, you think about what kind of sex would you be having with someone who encouraged you to think like that? I can't imagine how horrible that must be. Anyway, let's get on to the actual article, since Lori, let's face it, says so many terrible things on an almost daily basis that it's hard to keep track. In this case, she decided to comment on current world events with the coronavirus, saying that it is a good thing. The silver lining, you see, to the fallout from the pandemic is that women are being put back in their rightful place. The home. Apparently being forced back into the home with their children will help them realize their proper place in the world, barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen, making someone a sandwich.
Yeah.
Because I'm not allowed to have dreams, so no one else is.
Yeah, and you shouldn't have a job, and in your home is where you belong, and you need to take care of the children. And coronavirus is a blessing in disguise in that way, because it reminds women of their quote-unquote rightful place.
Yes. She also referred to an article she wrote in February, which didn't address the coronavirus, but it was about tips for women who find themselves bored and lonely with a stay-at-home lifestyle. It's not, of course, that might not be the ideal style for you. That's not possible. It's a woman's place in the home. So just You need to be more productive, which involves going to your husband and asking if he's pleased with your efforts at home and if there's anything he would like you to change about the way you're running things in the home, which, is your domain, but not really. Not only can you not have a career, but when you're at home, you're not in control of it either. And then just do whatever he says. Yeah. With regards to the pandemic, she gave additional horrible advice. Just, I don't wash my hands. I'm not a hand washer since I'm not afraid of germs and I have dry skin. Yes, after using the restroom, fine, but I've never thought about washing my hands after going shopping. I don't use hand sanitizer and won't. Since I've read that soap and water are more effective, I will now wash my hands after going outside my home. Oh, good. And try not to touch my face. And then, which in and of itself, that's not bad, but like, you're just going to wash your hands after going out. I suppose that's an improvement. And then I have a lot of elderberry syrup and take vitamin C and D every day. Elderberry syrup?
Yeah.
Is this some sort of a health trend I was not aware of?
I have no idea, but the thing with the transformed wife and why we're talking about her, why we are pretty much calling her out, and why I also do that sort of stuff on Twitter is because she's influential. And she does have a bit of a following, and her being wrong is not just her being wrong. A person can be wrong if a person wants to be wrong, but her being wrong and her having the following she has makes her a danger to other people.
It's absolutely heartbreaking. Christian women who think that this is the lifestyle they are obligated to have will actually write in and ask her advice, and it's heartbreaking. It's just heartbreaking. You mentioned rape apologist, which obviously is bad. In that case, it was a man whose wife said she didn't want to have sex with him and woke up to him having sex with her because no just meant not if you notice, apparently, or something of that nature.
Yeah.
And no, that's not rape because you don't want your husband to go to jail, apparently. I would want him to go to jail, but that's just me, apparently. And then all of the rest of this. Recently, I was watching a video by Rachel Oates dealing with basically her advice on how to beat children, which included spanking them for like just alternating between do what I say and then spank if you don't and do what I say and spank if you don't for hours, literally hours, with every one of her children. And saying that, you have to be careful because some places don't allow you to hit with a strap. So be sure you live somewhere that will let you beat your children with something as opposed to only hitting them with your hands. I cannot describe how evil these ideas are. And a lot of people will say things like, oh, how come you won't let people just believe whatever they want to believe? And I'm going, excuse me? Like this is why. Because these are beliefs that involve destroying other people's hopes and dreams and rights if she has the power to, and beating children. Those are bad things. Bad!
And beliefs inform actions.
Exactly.
And they also inform other beliefs. And and with her case, apparently, she is of the belief that if a man has a need to get released, then he just gets to climb on her and gets to stick his stick inside of her, and even if she's just sleeping and even if she does want to, he gets to do that because apparently masturbation is not a thing. And
no. Well, that then he might think of another woman, and that would be adultery. So we can't have that.
Yeah, and hey, he needs to have his release, and he needs to get distressed, and then she just needs to tolerate it and accept it.
As you said, reason 1892 that I'm glad I'm not a Christian anymore. Ugh. Ugh. Sorry, just ick.
Yeah, it's completely understandable, especially I think because this this isn't some type of guy who wants to justify other men to that they get to do this sort of stuff. This is a person who is part of your sex, and this is a person who wants to deprive you as well as other women of their rights.
Oh,
And that,
absolutely. And as disturbing as it is, it's not surprising. I hate to say it, but it's really, really not surprising. Um, there have always been women, there are women in the Islamic community who will insist that Islam is a feminist religion and talk about all the virtues of, the rights that Islam doesn't let them have being taken away from them. Basically, a be grateful for crumbs argument. And they'll defend it. They'll defend it 100% because they're so committed to the idea of this religion being right and good that they have to find a way to make it fit. And like I've often pointed out, it frequently means essentially abandoning your morality.
yeah,
Whatever decency you have as a human being is subject to and becomes, in a very real sense, an offering to this maniacal God character and the people who make claims in his name. And it's horrific. It's 9:40 for me. Is it too early to drink?
I wouldn't say so. I guess it's dependent on what sort of stuff you're drinking, but I
All
think
of it.
yeah,
Maybe I'll just chug a bottle of vodka. Ugh.
yeah,
Probably not the healthiest, but I still maintain it's at least partly justified.
yeah. I agree with what we have already discussed and what we are about to discuss. I think it's not
Ah,
unwise
yes.
to have a bottle.
Um, well, that's on a brighter note. Would you like to share our second news story?
Well, the second news story is about a different Christian woman. Um, some of you might have heard of her, other ones maybe not. Um, the next person we're going to talk about is Elizabeth Johnston. She's better known as the activist mommy, and she's well known for being against the LGBTQ community. She's a Christian and she's homophobic. And because she's against the LGBTQ community and against gay marriage, because the Bible disagrees, obviously, with that sort of marriage and that sort of relationships. And yeah, she's often advocating against the LGBT community, and she often says that gay people are destroying the natural family ordained by God, which is one man and one woman. Aside from the fact, of course, that there are frequent passages within the Bible which seem to condone polygamy, but that's not the point. It's not the
No,
point.
no, no, no. That was the Old Testament, sort of,
Yeah.
and so she doesn't have to shut up.
Yeah.
Um,
But the important part here is that while she is accusing gay people of destroying the natural biblical family, this woman is getting a divorce.
yes, admittedly. Oh, good Lord. She thinks they want to destroy the natural family by, getting married and having families. And now she's getting a divorce because of her husband's unspecified sexual immorality.
Yeah.
Now, I know from being on the inside that if it were something like porn or even an affair, a woman would usually be encouraged to forgive, and they'd have, church counseling, which involved a great deal of shaming the man and then requiring the woman to do this, that, and the next thing. And what she's famous for is a book called Not on My Watch, which basically frames the whole, it frames indoctrinating your children as a war for their souls. So what you're trying to do is insulate them from any idea that is against your values, not give them any chance to consider it or hear the arguments on both sides. Just be the strongest voice in your life and make sure that your kids become exactly the same kind of Christian you are, that they don't have sex till marriage because that's going to work, that they, don't accept any kind of compromise with LGBTQ people, that they feel ashamed of their sexuality. I mean, she burned a copy of Teen Vogue in 2017. And another woman who likes to give her followers tips on child beating. Because spare the rod, spoil the child is, yeah. And now in this case, now she's filed for divorce because of her biblical marriage apparently wasn't all that great. Shocking. And she revealed she'd filed for divorce because he has been repeatedly unfaithful to me, citing adultery, pornography, and sexual immorality, which began 16 years ago. Now, 16 years of adultery, not great. But I am wondering exactly what kind of adultery. Because in this type of home, sexual immorality tends to be either abusive or it turns out the person is gay.
Yeah.
So what I really want to know is precisely whom was her husband with, and what was his name?
That's a good one thing which I also want to make clear, because I posted this article also on Twitter. I shared it with people on Twitter, and one thing which people said to me, which I should be careful of, is that what I want to make clear is we're not shaming her here because she wants to get divorced. It's perfectly within her right to get divorced, and if he has been unfaithful to her, and if he has done all sorts of stuff to hurt her, then...
Oh, no, I'm shaming her, not because there's anything wrong with divorce, but because she wants to take this right away from other women.
Yeah.
She wants women to feel like absolute shit if they leave their marriages. And if, even their children have any different ideas than them, she wants to just, it's so soul destroying. I don't even know how to describe it.
Yeah.
And yet, apparently those rules don't count for her.
Yeah. What we basically criticize her for is that she's being a hypocrite and she's holding to double standards when it comes to the LGBT community as well as herself. And that is really
the unacceptable bit. Yeah. And, he could be a terrible husband. I don't know the man. I couldn't tell you. It's possible that leaving him is completely necessary and he's abusive and all the rest of it. I don't know. But I do know that this is the kind of thing where people will tell you, oh, no, you can't leave your marriage. You have to submit to God and trust God and blah, 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 blah. And, and then, of course, when they're in trouble in exactly the same situation, they're perfectly happy to take the out that they want to keep from everyone else. And that's the really despicable thing. It reminds me of Hamlet. Have you read Hamlet?
I plan to read it eventually, but I have not gotten around to reading it yet.
I'm trying to look up the quotation for this because it's not. Yeah. It's I can't recall it in the same way. But basically Ophelia is Hamlet's girlfriend, and her brother is going off to school, and he gives her this lecture about being virtuous. Yeah, let's just say it's a little bit hypocritical on his part. But she says basically, okay, but don't you preach to me the hard path of renunciation and yourself skip down the primrose path to hell, basically. Don't preach all this austerity to me while you're whoring and drinking and the rest of it out. She says it a little more tactfully than that. But yeah, basically don't ascribe that don't declare that I should take a path that you're not willing to take yourself. Yeah. And I wish I could remember the exact quotation. But that's the gist of it. And she's right. And it's especially, subversive for a woman to say that in her time, when of course women's virtue, and during a Shakespeare play, women's virtue is like, oh, no, we all have to be so virtuous, and men, yeah, whatever. Oh, here it is. I'll keep your advice close to my heart, but my dear brother, don't act like those hypocritical preachers and show me the rocky way to heaven while you, like a conceited womanizer, take the primrose path to hell. I don't think that's the quote. That's a modern English version of it. Yeah.
It's close enough, I think.
Close enough. Basically, hypocrite. Don't be a hypocrite. And that's the thing. I think it's always, Christianity is made up of exceptions too often for the people who live it. It's, oh no, you're not supposed to do this or think that or have that, except for, because I was in this extreme situation, so I understand that it was, necessary. And it never occurs to them that maybe other people were in a similar situation and it was also necessary. And maybe the forbidding of necessary things is not good.
Yeah. And the thing with her, since she is a Christian, I think what she also should be reminded of is that one of the people we know she admires also had very strong opinions on hypocrisy. I think she said along the lines of, remove the plank from your own eye so that you may see, and remove the speck of dust from your brother's eye.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Although in fairness, I don't know how much evangelical Christians really admire Jesus so much as, well, they're highly specific, tailored version of Jesus, who's a lot more of an asshole than even the New Testament paints him. But yeah, what are you going to do? Fictional characters can be remarkably inconsistent.
I mean, Jesus was an animal abuser. How great of a person could he have been?
An animal abuser?
I'm talking about the time where he drowned
the pig. Right, with the pigs. Yes. Yeah. Yes. I was thinking about him withering a fruit tree, the fig tree, because it didn't have figs when he wanted it, even though it wasn't in season. And I'm like, right. Because that's, It's clearly a parable, but it's told as though it were a real event. So if you're evangelical, you have to think it was a real event. That Jesus just, imbued with magic powers, went around having tantrums and killing things and destroying property because it didn't do what he wanted it to do, even when it wasn't supposed to be doing that right then. So, damn you. Apparently, Jesus is a tantruming 5-year-old. Or Trump. Not really much difference. Well, no, a 5-year-old has some empathy. Speaking of empathy.
Do you want to talk about the last article now?
Oh. I never want to talk about this article, and yet I have to. For those of you who have engaged with creationists, there are several who've been in the business a long time. Kent Hovind is one of the oldest, and at least the oldest still going, the possible exception of Carl Baugh. He and Carl Baugh both got fake doctorate degrees from just diploma mills that would give anyone a degree in anything, provided you forked over the cash and, wrote something that you could pretend was a dissertation.
And for those of you who don't know this, pretty much Hovind's paper with which he got the doctorate degree started with the following words. Hello, my name is Kent Hovind.
Yes. No numbered pages, no scholarly citations, just him blathering on about the importance of Christian education for however many pages. Nobody knows. He didn't number them. You can actually download it online. Anyway, the man just got out of prison where he was for 10 years for various forms of tax fraud, only one of which he admitted to, which was structuring, because that's the part that he could pretend wasn't nefarious. Basically, there's rules about reporting massive transfers of money, and he was just trying to skirt around them. So anyway, he spent 10 years in jail. Shocking, I know. Lots of people, Pastor Anderson, for example, have been like, free my pastor, because he's being persecuted for his righteousness, instead of being imprisoned for tax fraud. That's totally normal, even though he spent years on TV literally saying, if the government, I don't pay taxes. If the government wants taxes, they can come and tell me themselves. Like, he literally he spent 20 years confessing to this. Anyway, so he got out, tried to take back some of the business from his son, Eric Hovind, who's been doing his exact shtick for the last 10 years and couldn't get it. So he's sued his son, and he has how can I put it? Dinosaur Adventureland, which is a low-budget creation museum. Like, think Ken Ham and the Ark Encounter in the Creation Museum. Think of how boring that is with just endless plaques and basically, this is a low level of that. This is low budget.
Yeah. And there was an incident happening at Mr. Hovind's, I think it's called Dinosaur Adventureland, and what happened there was a family went there, and they had, I think, 5 children. They had multiple children, and one of the children it actually drowned at this Dinosaur Adventureland. Like the boy, it says here, has slipped on a dock and fallen into a pond before being proclaimed dead at a local hospital.
Yeah.
So the
boy apparently, I believe, was one of a set of twins too. We had 5 children and twin 7-year-olds playing in the lake together.
Yeah.
And the water was 3 feet deep, so it wasn't that bad. But the kid, Stephen, the 7-year-old, had slipped on the dock and hit his head and went under. So this is a tragedy. From the description of it given here, which is given by Hovind, and I don't trust him as far as I could throw the moon. But the way he describes it makes it sound that it was a genuine accident, which, 3 feet of water is not, you're not throwing children into the Grand Rapids. But it's manifestly clear in his comment about that he didn't actually look into this at all. He says, we don't know how long he was underwater. The woman was a medical doctor, was right there, gave him CPR, quote, probably did everything right. Didn't it, like, probably, did you not look into this? A child died? You're not going to go, okay, what actually happened? What did you do precisely? What are the guidelines? Do these line up? No, just probably did everything right,
Yeah. Like he's not invested in the whole scenario. He's not really as concerned about it as a normal human would be if there had been a child drowning at his venue.
But the part that makes him completely inhuman, completely just, it shows exactly what sort of a person he is.
Yeah.
Is that the beginning of this, and there's a video, we're reading this from the Friendly Atheist blog, the Patheos blog. We will link it in the description below, but he includes a video of this because it's just unbelievable. You have to actually listen to it to believe that this is what came out of this thing's mouth. Ken Hovind said, we had a rumor last Sunday going around the internet about an accidental drowning, and it's true. So he goes on to describe the family. Kids slipped on the dock. And, I mean, it's just too late. We don't know what happened, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, the kids had a blast, and the dad wants to bring the kids back and loves the place.
Wow.
Apparently, this was his response, the thing to focus on. First, this is what occurred. And second, not, and we're so sorry, and we mourn with the family, and we will be... No. You see, up until the point where the son drowned, everyone was having a real great time.
Yeah. And it's not like this is some sort of a big deal. It's just information, and it's sort of the not important stuff out of the way. And then he goes on to just promote and to advertise for his park.
He mocked a guy from Twitter before criticizing him for making the family feel bad that their boy drowned, because apparently that's something that strangers on Twitter need to do. It's not like you would feel bad for that if you were a normal human who possessed any level of compassion or empathy or family bonds of any kind whatsoever. Apparently everyone who enters Dinosaur Adventureland is told they're entering at their own risk because there's no medical professionals or lifeguards or anything. But even still, it doesn't seem like there's any indication the family intends to sue Hovind for some reason. If there's anything good about the overly litigious American system, suing this asshole would be it. But I would encourage you, go to the link, read the article if you wish, but take a gravel and watch the video. He is laughing with whoever he's talking to on the sideline. On the video, not no, we accidentally caught you a moment before. He's smiling the whole time.
Like
the whole time. It's fucking disturbing. It's like
he doesn't
those conspiracy theories about lizard people, and this one, they broke the programming and he forgot what he was supposed to be emoting or something. It's the most, it's so disgusting. I don't have a word for it.
Yeah. It's like he doesn't really care. So it's just a bit of side news. It has happened, and maybe a bit of a tragedy, but whatever. Let's move on. It's not a big
The
deal.
important thing is that my park was really awesome.
Like, a boy just died at your avenue. Don't you think that that's a really bad thing? I mean, okay,
A
if you're depressed
7-year-old
about
child.
that, anybody can force you to be depressed about that, but at least show some kind of empathy. If you don't have any empathy, at least try to fake it, but don't make yourself look like a psychopathic asshole.
Oh, he is psychopathic. There's one thing I've suspected for a long time, but this confirms it beyond any doubt. And that is that Kent Hovind is a malignant narcissist. For those of you who have dealt with abusive people in the past and spoken to me about it, you'll know I often recommend going to Knowing the Narcissist on YouTube or narcsite.com, which honestly I find a bit disturbing, because after removing some abusive people from my life, I wanted to understand it. And narcissists, all abusers are not necessarily narcissists, but narcissists are people who do not possess empathy. Their mirror neurons are not firing. They are grandiose, filled with their own self-importance. It's not just that they lie, which of course they do, but it's that the only reality they're aware of is the one that makes me look good in this moment. That's their truth. It has nothing to do with, observable reality that's real and all of that. And looking at his face in this video, and again, you just have some alcohol, but not enough to give you liver poisoning, because it's so chilling and sickening, and I don't even know how to deal with it. But looking at that is 100% the face of a narcissist, of a sociopathic narcissist, who doesn't have the capacity to care that a little boy, a 7-year-old, is dead. And is only concerned with praising himself.
Yeah, and that all of this happened at his park, and I cannot imagine that that the family, if they read this or hear what they said, would agree that it was a great day for them. Like, they had a blast and they want to go there back really badly. I'm not
even if it was the best park on earth, even if it was a freaking Disneyland, if you watched your family member die there, you're not going back.
Yeah,
that's trauma. The fact that he apparently doesn't even conceive of the possibility that that would be traumatic. Who knows? Maybe the father said, "Oh yeah, we're going to come back again real soon," before his kid drowned.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know we talk about these things and we try and, give an analysis of them, but I don't know what to say. I just don't. I don't know what to say to this.
I'm at a loss for words as well.
I will say this. If any God does exist, and these are his followers, that is the most evil fucking God in the universe.
I mean, one thing which I very often hear atheists say, and this is something that I would, in this instance, especially agree with: if Christians are the type of if these sort of Christians like Kent Hovind are the type of people that will go to heaven, I don't want to go to heaven.
No kidding. I am sick at the idea of spending 10 minutes in the presence of someone like this. Eternity?
No way.
Fuck no. Sign me up with Satan. I just immediately, just anything. No. If you were ever a supporter, it's very unlikely that any supporters of Kent Hovind are going to be watching this. But if you have supported him in the past, I want you to think about this proverb. A man is known by the company he keeps. Sometimes we get really attached to an idea and we can't conceive of it being wrong. We get wound up. I understand that. But one of the clues that you maybe need to reconsider where you're at is when you find that you're on the side of the line with people like this. You watch that video, watch it all the way through, and tell me you saw any compassion or humanity in that face. Because if you did, you're lying to yourself.
Yeah. And also ask yourself, like, okay, he might be on your side concerning the creation debate. He might even be one of your childhood heroes, and he might be one of your favorite apologists out there, but can you respect a man who says stuff like that? Can you respect that? Do you find this to be acceptable behavior?
Yeah. Because the truth is, it's frightening. You know, and this is the type of man that no matter the ideology, he's always going to be just incredibly problematic. I don't want, I don't even know what to say. I don't want to think about that man being in charge of anything, being in a place to influence people. And he is and has been for years influencing people.
Yeah.
And I find it terrifying that anyone would hear this man and think, oh yeah, that's who I need to listen to. I'm sorry, guys. I feel like I'm ending it early, but I honestly don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
This is just...
I have complete understanding for you because this article was heavy. And I know that it was hard for you. It was hard for me. I think it was also hard for you. And
yeah.
After getting worked up this way, which I did, which I know you did, it's tough. So I get that you need to cool off and you don't want to think about a person like this anymore.
Well, he is pretty horrible. But I will say this. We're in uncertain times. A tragedy like this can happen to anyone at any time. And right now, unfortunately, we're all dealing with a lot more risk factors. Take care of yourselves. Tell the people you care about that you love them. Give them a hug. You know, hug your kids.
Yeah.
Your friends. If you're socially isolated from them, call them. You know, voice to voice, you know, you can call them, you can video chat with them. Technology is wonderful. I know it's not the same as wrapping your arms around them, but it's a huge improvement. But don't let the people you care about go to bed tonight without you knowing that you care about them.
Yeah.
We are all we have. Each other.
Yeah.
And that is nothing to turn up your nose at.
Yeah. That being said, Lilith, I love you and I care about you.
I love you too, Renee. You've been a good friend, and I'm glad I met you.
Yeah. Anyways, we will end this week's episode soon. The links to the articles will be included below. We will also include links to our respective Twitter profiles in case you want to follow us and want to make recommendations to us about the show or send us some tweets for Batshit Believers. We will also include Lilith's Patreon in the links
Yes,
below.
please. I really would appreciate support. I'm trying to get some new equipment so that we can do things a little better and maybe have some guests on, some friends of the show. I'd love to do that, but unfortunately at the moment I'm kind of limited in that regard. So if you can help, that's great. If you can't, I understand. It's a tough time right now. Stay part of the conversation. Let us know what you like, what you want to hear about. And we're always happy to hear from people and take recommendations and ideas.
Yeah.
So I think we'll be signing off then. Renee, thank you. Thank you to all of our listeners. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and reason bless.